story begins with a guy named Roland. He was reincarnated into the body of a noble prince in a dangerous, miserable little border town that nobody cared about. A man goes to call on him and runs into one of the maids who just finished serving the prince. She says he's asleep, but her eyes say something completely different. That sketchy kind of rush from someone clearly hiding something. The old man walks into the room and finds the prince unconscious, a wine goblet tipped over on the floor. He doesn't know it yet, but at that exact moment, the prince was already dead, and that's when Roland takes over his body. Roland wakes up trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The old man immediately tells him to get up because there's a witch that needs to be executed, and he's the one who has to give the order. Meanwhile, outside, a young woman is being pelted with stones by the crowd while everyone screams, "Witch, witch!" The nobles, they're up on the balcony, sipping wine and enjoying the show like it's some kind of VIP event. Roland finally puts it all together. He's been reincarnated into the body of a prince, so he plays it cool, walks around the room, and spots the poisoned wine goblet on the floor. Someone murdered the original owner of this body. When Roland finally steps outside, man, his jaw just drops. Like, he still couldn't fully believe he was in another world. The crowd is screaming at him to authorize the witch's hanging. In the middle of the mob, that same maid from before watches everything in shock because the prince is still alive. Roland looks at the so-called witch and realizes she's just a young woman. He thinks the whole thing is absolutely insane, but since he has to keep pretending to be the prince, he asks for the trial to be postponed. His personal knight immediately warns him, "That's not how it works, man. Once a witch is identified, she has to be executed on the spot, or she'll draw other witches." Roland turns around and says, "And why wouldn't it be better if more witches showed up? That way we can catch them all at once." The knight freezes, and just like that, the trial is postponed. Later, Roland is in the carriage on his way to the mansion, and without knowing it, he's sitting right next to the very person who poisoned him, who's still playing the role of just another maid. Once they arrive, he heads to his room and starts processing everything. He's in the body of a failure of a prince, someone nobody respects, ruling over some irrelevant territory in a dark and backwards world. Roland thinks, "What the heck am I supposed to do here?" Then he looks in the mirror and realizes that at least the guy is absolutely gorgeous. He decides he's going to make the most out of this life. Later, during a meal, the advisor shows up and gets right to the point. Why didn't Roland order the witch's execution? This is serious business, it can't be put off. Roland casually asks why executing a witch would even matter that much. The advisor explains that other supposed witches have been spotted in the forest to the west, and they found a badge, the emblem of the Witches Cooperation Association. Roland has no idea what that is and asks. The advisor explains, "Witches used to operate solo, but this association wants to unite all of them under one mission, finding what's called the Sacred Mountain, the only place where witches can find eternal peace. That's why the association keeps recruiting more and more people." Roland asks, completely straight-faced, "Are you scared they'll find out the witch is still alive and come rescue her?" The old man confirms it, completely panicked, and doubles down that the witch needs to be executed as soon as possible. Because when someone awakens a witch's power, that power is terrifying. And that's when the word power lit something up in Roland's eyes. The advisor explains that, a few days earlier, the northern mine collapsed, and the witch revealed her power by burning a man until he melted like candle wax and spread across the floor. Hearing that, Roland wants to see the witch in person. The old man spirals into a panic. Roland also asks why the witch isn't being burned at the stake, like usual. The advisor says, dead serious, because she doesn't fear fire. Roland, who came from the modern world, thinks all of this sounds like total fairy tale nonsense. He heads down to the dungeon to see it for himself. The knight begs him to drop it, saying he can't guarantee his protection down there. Roland looks at the knight and says, "If you never face evil, how are you ever going to defeat it?" The knight agrees with the sentiment, but pushes back. There are limits to what a human being can do. Being reckless isn't the same as being brave. Roland, still convinced the witch is just a misunderstood woman, looks at him and asks, "Are you saying we should take action against weaker opponents and just ignore the stronger ones?" The knight apologizes, swallows his feelings, and the two of them press forward. When they reach the witch's cell, Roland is stunned. The woman was breathtakingly beautiful, blue eyes that showed no trace of malice, only an unshakable sense of conviction. Even with her in chains, the knight went on guard immediately. Roland introduces himself and asks her name. With a faint voice, she answers, "Anna." He asks her to tell him everything. Anna, reluctant and clearly broken, explains, when the mine collapsed, her father, a miner, got his leg trapped inside. She ran to help him, but another miner used the chaos to steal the coins her father had saved up. A lifetime of hard work and suffering, gone in an instant. Her father, even trapped and injured, fought with everything he had. When Anna arrived, she saw the thief with a pickaxe raised, about to kill her own father, and, without thinking twice, she killed him. Roland asks how she was captured. The advisor answers for her, and the answer hits like a punch to the gut. Anna was turned in by her own father. Yeah, her dad handed her over for a reward of 25 gold coins, enough to live comfortably for the rest of his life. Roland looks straight at Anna and asks directly. The man she killed was older, physically stronger than her. How did she kill him? Anna answers, barely above a whisper, with what they call the devil's power. Roland, still in disbelief, asks her to show him this power. Everyone panics. The witch could kill everyone in the room at any moment. Even Anna herself, realizing this is Roland's first time being up close with a witch, warns him, "Your curiosity is going to get you killed one day." Roland looks at her and fires back. "If you're really a demon, I shouldn't be the first one you'd kill. It should be your father." Those words land hard. Being betrayed by your own father cuts deep, and Anna's tears start falling. Roland steps closer and asks, looking her directly in the eyes, "Are you someone worth pitying, or a demon with an incredible talent for acting?" Then, even as the knight tries to stop him, Roland rips off the collar that was sealing Anna's power. While everyone tries to hold him back and scrambles in a panic, Roland finally sees with his own eyes the insane power this woman has. Flames explode through the cell. The knight screams at Roland to run, but he tells him to hold on, and then he notices Anna is controlling the flames, keeping them from leaving the cell. She walks toward Roland, her clothes burning completely away, until she extinguishes the fire, and asks, with that calm voice that sends chills down your spine, "My lord, was your curiosity satisfied?" Anna says that now that he's seen it for himself, he can execute her, but Roland takes off his own cloak and gently drapes it over her, and tells her he's not going to kill her. Quite the opposite. Roland wants to hire her. So, the next day, Roland is alone in his room, thinking about Anna's powers. Since he was an engineer in his past life, the guy knows thermodynamics inside and out. He knows full well that heat never flows from cold to hot without causing some kind of damage, that entropy always increases in an irreversible reaction, and then it hits him. Anna simply ignores all of that. She creates heat from absolute nothing. She dodges the burden of entropy like it's nothing. The dude is completely blown away. The power of witches is like insane and incredibly convenient. That's when Baroff walks into the room. Roland asks him straight to the point if he completed the task. Baroff confirms without hesitation. The witch was hanged at noon, and the prisoner, with a hood over their head, so nobody could tell who it really was. Roland is satisfied. Then he asks Baroff for a full report on the border city's commerce, taxes, fixed expenses, everything from the last decade. He also wants a detailed report on the city's productive sectors, textiles, steel, ceramics, all of it. Baroff, who was used to the old prince, a complete deadbeat, useless from start to finish, looks at Roland with that "am I dreaming" face and asks why he wants all of this. Roland looks at him and keeps it simple. "Don't worry about it. Just bring me what I asked for." Baroff agrees, and visibly relieved mentions that Roland is finally taking the royal decree seriously. So Roland walks over to the kingdom's map and starts laying out the geopolitics of the place. Timothy oversees the economic hub of Valencia. Gerald commands the military fortress at Coldwind Crest. Gracia controls the commercial port of Clearwater. Tilly manages the cultural center of Silver City. And Roland, well, Roland got dumped in the most desolate and broke border city in the whole kingdom. Taking stock of the whole situation, Roland asks Baroff, flatly, "What are my odds given all of this?" Baroff is straight with him. Since Roland made a complete mess of things last year and basically bankrupted the city, it's going to be rough. The local nobles are doing whatever they want with zero consequences. Roland then asks who really runs the region. Baroff answers without missing a beat. "The royal house of Fortikinza, the Wimbledons." Roland gives a dry smile and says, "That's just an illusion." He explains that the one who actually calls the shots in the kingdom is the Holy City, the Hermes. Only those crowned by the Pope are considered legitimate kings, which means the current regime is nothing but a puppet of the theocracy. It doesn't matter how much Roland's siblings prosper in their territories. In the end, everything belongs to the church. Roland wraps it up with conviction. If he builds a kingdom completely outside of that system, the throne will be his. Then Roland looks at Baroff and asks, point blank, "You, as a loyal defender of the royal house, aren't you tired of the church sticking its nose into governance?" Baroff agrees but raises a concern. The church's power is deeply rooted in the people. What could they possibly do about it? Roland responds calmly, "The people's support for the church comes from its lies. If we can prove the church is lying, the people stop backing it. And the best way to do that? Prove that witches aren't the incarnation of the devil. Barov finally gets it. That was it. That was the real reason Roland saved Anna. Roland then locks eyes with Barov and says, "If I win the royal decree, the title of assistant could be stripped from you. Maybe you go further and become my hand of the king." And then, with complete seriousness, "Barov, never question my decisions." Barov leaves the room completely floored. The knight, concerned, mentions that he's worried the other nobles will find out Roland is harboring a witch. But Barov has bigger things to worry about and brushes off the comment. Meanwhile, Anna is out in the garden, alone with her thoughts. She just signed an equal employment contract with Roland. Barov told her she'll receive 1 gold coin per month. Anna's jaw nearly hits the floor. That's way more than her father earns in an entire year of backbreaking work. She just can't wrap her head around what Roland actually wants from her. Because to her, a witch is dirty, demonic, a child of the devil. That's when Roland shows up and snaps her out of it. He apologizes, acknowledging that after everything she's been through, she deserved more time to rest. Anna, completely confused, asks why he saved her, and what the real reason behind this contract is. Roland decides to act like a gentleman and invites Anna for a walk. As they walk, Anna comes back to it. She killed someone. She deserves to be punished. She deserves to die. Roland explains calmly that what she did was self-defense, something anyone would have done. But the words don't even come close to getting through to Anna, who holds firm she is the incarnation of the devil, and that sin cannot be erased. Roland, without rushing, picks a citrus flower and offers it to her. "This flower is highly poisonous," he says. Anna drops the flower instantly, startled. Roland smiles. "I was lying," he explains. "The flower is still the same flower. What changed was Anna's perception of it. And it's the exact same thing with a witch's powers. They're neither good nor evil. They're natural. This whole story about impurity and the devil, those are just opinions, and opinions can be changed." Anna pushes back through tears, saying Roland is being way too simplistic, that the power is terrifying, that it will kill everyone who gets close to her. Realizing that pressing harder isn't going to work, Roland speaks with total honesty. "If you want to die, I'm not going to stop you, but know that dying won't fix anything. Your father will keep hating witches. Everything you lost, it's not coming back." And then he drops the bombshell. "You can choose a different path. Build with me a world where witches can live freely." Anna freezes. With a quiet voice, she admits she doesn't wish harm on anyone. She just wants to be free, to study, to read, to sing out loud. She just wants to live, and asks, eyes glistening, "Will that day really come?" Roland extends his hand and answers, "Yes, but only if we work together." Anna looks at that hand and makes her choice. She's going to help Roland. Roland then instructs Anna to train her powers until she has complete control over them. That night, a mysterious assassin sends a message to the other witches about what Roland is up to. The next day, after spending the entire night reviewing documents, Roland discovers that the border city is a mining town, completely dominated by noble corruption. And to make things worse, the region has no agricultural production whatsoever. So he asks Barov how they handle food supply. Barov explains, all the ore produced is traded for food with Longsong Fortress. The border city is treated like Longsong's personal property, which hands out barely enough rations to keep the workers on their feet. Baron Boris, before Roland arrived, blindly obeyed the Longsong lords, handing over all the ore in exchange for scraps. Roland brings up Boris and mentions he never liked the guy. He knows that by taking over the territory, he made a declared enemy. Barov confirms, Boris and other nobles have personal interests tied to Longsong Fortress. They don't care how much ore gets delivered. The food they send to the city barely keeps people alive. Roland decides on the spot. That ends now. Cut off all trade with the fortress immediately. He lays out the plan. They'll sell the ore to Willow City and buy food directly from there. Barov worries that Willow City won't take on such a massive quantity of ore since they've never dealt in it before. But Roland pushes back, unbothered. They'll sell at half the market price. With that kind of profit margin, they won't say no. Barov frets about the future. After all, they'll be left with no stockpile. Roland explains with long-term vision, once they've built up enough resources, they'll expand. The border city sits at the source of the river that runs through the entire kingdom. With enough ships, they'll be able to sail across the whole kingdom and trade with everyone. The Redwater River is going to become the border city's Silk Road. Barov, confused, says the city doesn't produce silk. Roland laughs. It was a metaphor, man. Then Barov drops the bomb. If they do this, the fortress won't accept the city's residents during winter anymore. Roland doesn't understand why they'd need the fortress in winter. Barov explains, winter brings monsters. The gates of hell open inside the Dragon Spine Mountain and corrupt the animals, turning them into bloodthirsty demonic beasts. They attack in hordes and devastate everything in their path. And since the city has no walls, every year the residents take shelter for months at Longsong Fortress. Roland puts it together. Without solving the beast problem, it's impossible to establish the city and develop trade there. He summons the 2 captains of the city patrol and a man who claims to have actually fought the creatures. One of the captains tries to speak, but since he's standing before a prince, he locks up. Not a single intelligible word comes out of the poor guy. The other captain takes over and explains. At the end of autumn, the patrol keeps a close eye on the misty forest. When they spot signs of the beasts, they light the signal bonfires and haul it to the Redwater River by boat all the way to the fortress. Roland asks if they get attacked on the river. The captain explains that the current is strong and the river is far too deep. In years of records, not a single demonic beast has ever crossed the river. Roland asks how long the demonic months last. The captain answers, 2 to 3 months, ending when the sky clears and the snow melts. But last year, it lasted 4 months, and a lot of people died. Roland doesn't follow. If they were in the fortress, how did they die of hunger? The captain explains, the fortress hands out food based on the ore delivered. With careful rationing, it lasts up to 3 months. But in the 4th month, the ore ran out. There was no way to get back to the city to mine more, and residents were found starving to death inside the fortress. Roland gets it, once and for all. Taking shelter at Longsong Fortress is not an option. The hunter then steps forward. He's already killed 2 beasts, a wild boar and a mutant wolf. He explains that the beasts are wild animals that have been corrupted. The more powerful the animal was before, the more dangerous the beast becomes. A wolf gets way faster. A boar develops skins so tough that crossbow bolts can't even pierce it. Roland concludes that despite being stronger and more agile, they're still animals. The hunter agrees, but warns that there are hybrid beasts. Those are the real nightmares. They transform, grow wings, and with their sharpened sense of smell, it doesn't matter where you hide, they will find you. They play with their prey before devouring it, as if they take pleasure in the suffering. Real demons. Roland asks the hunter's name and why he has his head bowed. Carter explains, the man is from the exiled Sand people of the Mojin clan. Roland asks him to raise his head and says firmly, it doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're in the border city, you are part of my people. Tell me your name. The man raises his head and answers, Iron Axe. Roland thanks everyone, praises each of their contributions, and announces they'll each be rewarded with 10 silver coins. Next, Roland calls Carter to accompany him to the border point where the flame is lit during the demonic month. He analyzes the location carefully. He notices the men who light the bonfire run down the mountain to the river. He asks Carter the average distance to the water. Approximately 600 meters, Carter answers. Then Carter, carefully choosing his words so as not to offend the prince, asks if Roland is really planning to stay in the border city during the demonic period. Roland confirms. Carter goes pale. The city only has a handful of guards. The castle has no room for 2,000 residents. It's impossible to defend against a horde of demonic beasts. But Roland looks ahead, unwavering. I don't plan on dying here, and I'm definitely not abandoning my people. And with the quiet confidence of a brilliant reincarnated engineer, he concludes, right here, we're going to build the strongest, most indestructible walls in history. And we're going to wipe these beasts out once and for all. The next day, there was Barov, working and trying to make sense of what on earth had happened to Roland. Because, the Roland he knew was a completely different person from the Roland standing in front of him now. Barov remembered it clearly. The 4th prince had a reputation for being the biggest deadbeat in the entire nobility. A useless embarrassment to the royal family. The kind of guy his own brothers pretended not to know. Basically, the lame nerd nobody took seriously. And Barov had only agreed to work with him for one very simple reason, honestly. The king had promised that once the royal decree was finalized, he'd be appointed Minister of Finance. That was it. Strictly business. But then Barov starts wondering, what in the world happened to this kid? Because after Roland saved that witch, the guy became a completely different person. Literally. Out of nowhere, he showed up with razor-sharp strategic vision, a brilliant mind, and words that Barov himself had never heard in his life, like Silk Road. The what? Barov didn't even know what that meant, man. On top of that, Roland had already zeroed in on the church as the main obstacle, was already thinking about the city's long-term development. The guy had a complete plan. Barov had to admit it. The current Roland had an almost flawless vision for the future. But here was the real problem, because none of that genius meant anything. if they didn't survive the demonic period. And with winter arriving in 3 months, Roland still wanted to build a 600-meter wall. Barov thought that was impossible, completely impossible. But still, deep down, in some small corner of old Barov's heart, something was telling him Roland was unpredictable, and that maybe, just maybe, he could actually pull it off. Meanwhile, Carter was out there coordinating the workers at Roland's request. The mission? Fetch limestone rocks and a cart full of clay. Then crush everything into small pieces, mix it thoroughly, and then ask Anna to melt it all with her fire magic. After Anna finished, Roland asked them to mix everything with gypsum and grind it down to a fine powder. Carter, with zero clue what was happening, finally asked, "My prince, what's all this for?" Roland gave a small smile and answered, "It's a new kind of alchemy." A little while later, the mysterious powder was ready. Roland turned to Anna and said, "Miss Anna, allow me to show you a little of my own magic." Anna looked at him curiously and asked, "You know magic too, my lord?" "I do," Roland answered calmly, "but it's a different kind of magic. Mine is called science." Then Roland asked Carter to mix the powder with water and pour it evenly over the stacked stones, and promised, by tomorrow, they will become a wall, solid and impenetrable. Carter was skeptical, wearing that "sure thing, your highness, whatever you say" face. Roland then turned to Anna and asked, "And you, Anna? Do you believe me?" Without hesitating, Anna answered, "If you say so, I believe you." The next day, Roland told Carter to hit the stones with everything he had. Carter, still doubtful, grabbed a shovel and brought it down hard on the stones, and sparks flew. The stones were as hard as steel. Carter lost it, man. He immediately started doing the math out loud. With this, they could build a wall across the entire frontier in 5 years. They could reinforce the castle. They could, but Roland went even further. Quietly, almost to himself, he murmured that they could build 10,000 homes, shelter poor scholars, make the people happy. And then he turned around with that determined look in his eyes and said, "We're going to build a better home for everyone. Houses that can stand up to any weather, that no storm, no blizzard can destroy." Then he put Carter in charge of managing the wall's construction and asked Anna to prepare a fresh batch of the material every day. Before leaving, Carter couldn't hold back the curiosity. "What's this miraculous alchemical powder called, my prince?" Roland smiled and revealed, "Cement." A few days later, problem. The construction had barely gotten off the ground. Barov explained that Carter, dedicated as he was, had no experience in construction, and to raise a 600-meter wall from scratch, they needed a seasoned architect, a real master mason, overseeing the whole thing. Roland realized that even the mighty cement couldn't solve everything on its own. He told Barov to go find masons immediately. Barov explained there was no one with that kind of specialization in the border city. "Then look somewhere else," Roland said without blinking. "Longsong Fortress, Willow City, wherever it takes." Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Anna's old teacher was walking through the city center and stopped in front of the gallows. He just stood there, staring, believing that was where Anna had been hanged. Still grieving, just days earlier, another one of his students had come forward revealing that she too was a witch. The weight of the world seemed to be crashing down on him. That's when a man called out to him. Since he was one of the few people who could read, he was asked to decipher a notice posted by Prince Roland. The teacher read it out loud to everyone gathered around. Roland was hiring men between 20 and 40 to break stones, masons of any gender with masonry experience, general laborers, and master masons of any age, with experience in fortress construction or large-scale engineering projects. The salaries were really good, and the master mason position paid nothing less than 1 gold coin per month. The crowd around him went absolutely wild. This was a chance to change their lives, and the teacher realized this was a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He took off running to the interview. He arrived before Roland and introduced himself. "My name is Karl van Bott. I worked as a teacher here in the city, but I designed and built the palace, as well as renovations to several public buildings, including Fortescinza." Barov's brow furrowed immediately. "All of Fortescinza's construction was the responsibility of the Masons Guild. Were you a member?" "Yes," Karl confirmed. Roland then got straight to the point. "During the construction of Fortescinza, there was a collapse, and every member of the guild was executed." Karl took a deep breath and said, "The story that spread is a lie." He laid out everything. The administrator at the time, motivated by bribes, had sabotaged the entire team. He ordered the use of a different type of stone, even after being warned that it would compromise the structural integrity of the project. The administrator ignored it. The accident happened, and in the end, the administrator claimed good intentions, got off scot-free, and the masons were all executed. Carl had heard the rumors before anyone else. He fled in the middle of the night. He'd been hiding his identity ever since. Roland looked at him hard. "Why are you revealing this now? You know you're risking your own life?" Carl looked right back and said, "I know, but if I hadn't run, I'd be dead. I can't reveal everything just yet, but I'm begging you to give me a chance. I've been a Mason my whole life. I need to make amends for my sins." Roland asked Barov for his opinion. Barov was straight with him. "By law, he's a condemned fugitive. He should be eliminated. But given your current needs, hiring him is the best call." Roland stood up. With all the authority he carried, he pardoned Carl's crimes and appointed him Master Mason and member of the administrative office. Carl's mouth fell open. He couldn't believe it. He was certain he was going to die right there. Roland then opened the map and showed where he wanted the wall. Carl studied it carefully and said, "With 150 men, probably 3 years for the full project." Roland crossed his arms. "We need it before the demonic period." Carl thought fast, redesigned on the spot. He suggested reducing the height and thickness of the wall. With 200 men, the foundation could be ready in a month, but the problem was the stone. Hard to break, hard to transport. "If I can get you enough stones in time," Roland cut in. "Can you finish in 3 months?" "Yes," Carl answered without hesitating. "Then, let me show you a little of my magic." When Carl saw the cement for the first time, man, the guy almost lost it completely. His eyes went wide, his voice started shaking. He stammered that with this, they wouldn't even need to process the stones. The speed of any construction would jump to a completely different level. They could meet the deadline easily. Carl was dying to use it, but before Roland could leave, Carl decided to share the secret he'd still been holding on to. That's when Anna came down the stairs. Carl stopped, just stared, completely frozen. She was dead, he whispered. Anna explained to Roland that Carl was the teacher she talked about so much. Carl got emotional in a way he didn't even try to hide. Said he'd been having nightmares about her for the past few days, that he'd been destroyed, and that he was beyond relieved to see her alive. He knelt before Roland and thanked him for sparing Anna. Roland responded firmly, "I don't see witches as incarnations of the devil. I will not hunt them as the church commands. I would never harm Anna." That's when Carl revealed there was another witch in the city. Roland raised an eyebrow. A small smile crept to the corner of his mouth. "A little girl named Nana," Carl said. "She discovered she was a witch just a few days ago." Then Carl, completely misreading the room, started thanking Roland and saying what a stroke of luck it was for Anna to be able to join the prince's harem, and that, even though Nana was still young, she'd grow into a beautiful woman someday and could. Barov burst out laughing. Roland sighed deeply and explained with the patience of a saint. "Carl, you completely misunderstood. I saved Anna because I need her help. It was thanks to her that we were able to make the cement. That's all." Carl's face turned the deepest shade of red in recorded history. So Roland called him over to talk somewhere else. As they walked, Barov whispered a heads up. Nana was the daughter of a noble, Baron Tigi Pine. If the nobles found out she was a witch, it'd be a whole problem. Roland asked Carl, as Nana's teacher, to bring her to him at her usual class time, and asked Barov to bring her to the kitchen as discreetly as possible. Later, Nana arrived. From the red on her cheeks, it was pretty easy to guess that Carl had said some sus things on the way over. Roland introduced himself and asked her to sit at the table. The little girl, shy with those suspicious side eyes, hesitated. So Roland pulled out the ultimate weapon against any girl in this world: food. Nana almost caved. Almost. She held back her instincts at the very last second. That's when Anna came down the stairs. Nana saw her, recognized her, and completely lost it in tears, screaming, "Big Sis Anna!" A little while later, with Anna by her side, Nana was absolutely demolishing the cake without a care in the world, and Roland took the moment of vulnerability to drop the bomb. "I know you're a witch. Tell me, how did you find out?" Nana explained. A week before, she'd found a little bird with a broken leg. She really wanted to help it. She felt something flowing through her hands, like a sticky ball of water that wrapped around the bird, and then it was healed. Roland processed everything quickly. Nana's power was healing. He sent Carter running to a hunter to buy small animals, injured and dead ones, to test the limits of that power. Nana, a little nervous, demonstrated her ability, and Roland worked through the tests one by one. She could heal wounds, she could reattach severed limbs, but if the limb had already been lost, she couldn't regenerate it. And death she couldn't reverse. Carter watched all of it and went quiet for a moment, said that saving lives was a knight's duty, but that seeing it with his own eyes was something else, and admitted that he was starting to understand Roland's approach with witches. Roland asked Carter to find a way to always bring Nana over without drawing attention, so she could train her powers. Carter asked why they didn't just keep her at the mansion. Because Nana hasn't been exposed as a witch yet, Roland explained. And since she's noble, if we brought her here openly right now, we could spark a conflict with the local nobles. We're not ready for that yet. Then Roland looked around and said seriously, beyond the demonic beasts, we have other enemies, and they live very close to us. Far away, in another place entirely, a knight is reporting all the latest news to Garcia, Roland's sister. He tells her that the Black Veil fleet returned from yet another successful raid. They intercepted a merchant fleet, and the haul was considerable, man, enough to arm an entire platoon. Garcia likes what she hears and asks for the name of the captain who led the raid. The knight answers that the man's name is Drake, and right then, Garcia appoints Drake as a knight on the spot and orders the Black Veil fleet and all the raid spoils to be handed over to him. The knight obeys without question and assures her that Drake and his men will be very grateful for Her Highness Garcia's generosity. But then, the knight drops the bomb. The assassination attempt on Roland failed miserably. The tablets were mixed into the wine and consumed by Roland, but the guy simply dozed off for a few moments and woke up completely fine. Like, it didn't work. Not at all. But Garcia is a pragmatic woman, man. To her, a failure is a failure, and she's not interested in excuses. She says she'll give the assassin one more shot and orders some of her sister's belongings to be delivered as motivation. After that, she dismisses the knight. But before he can leave, she orders the alchemist Master Enbies, who produced the poison tablets, to be hanged. What Garcia didn't know is that the tablets worked perfectly. The real Roland died, but I took over his body. The next day, the ambassador from Longsong Fortress arrives at the border city to collect the minerals and immediately notices a ship from Willow City unloading food at the dock, a sight he clearly wasn't expecting to see. Meanwhile, Barov updates Roland on everything. The wall construction is going smoothly, no issues. Master Mason Van Bate guarantees the project will be completed on schedule. The food purchased from Willow City has also arrived at the dock, and the quantity is enough to feed the entire city through winter. But Barov is worried, and not just a little bit. He admits that even with everything going well, the city's budget deficit remains extremely severe. Long-term, the city is headed for bankruptcy. All the major expenses are being covered out of Roland's own pocket, and at most, they'll hold out until next spring. Roland isn't the least bit fazed. He says he doesn't mind losing his own money, and that if they can finish the wall and secure their presence in the border city, the subsequent ore production will be guaranteed. But Barov insists what really worries him is that Duke Ryan is not going to back down if they cut off the ore supply to Longsong Fortress. At that moment, a messenger announces that the ambassador has arrived. Roland then asks Barov to have the cooks prepare a lavish banquet with the food that just arrived, a subtle but powerful gesture to make it crystal clear that food is no longer the only bargaining chip between the border city and Longsong Fortress. In the dining room, the ambassador is completely at a loss trying to figure out where Roland got all this good food from, since it had always been the fortress that supplied the city. Then he gets fixated on a strange detail: the objects Roland is using as utensils. He asks what they are. Roland explains they're called chopsticks, and that he plans to make them standard across the whole city. They're way cheaper than silver since they're made of wood, and they're actually pretty hygienic. And then, with that smile of someone who knows exactly what they're doing, Roland takes the opportunity to jab at the ambassador. Even with a full spread in front of them, he claims there's no good food in the border city and asks the ambassador to make do with what's on the table. The ambassador doesn't quite catch the dig, but thanks him. And then Roland drops the bomb. All of that was to welcome the ambassador. Since every single one of those ingredients arrived that very day from Willow City, the ambassador stops, freezes. For the first time in history, the border city is doing business with Willow City, and he just figured that out. Later, after dinner, Roland and the ambassador finally get to what really matters. The ambassador is direct. He came to notify Roland that the deadline for ore delivery has passed, and that Longsong Fortress has already prepared the food that was to be sent to the city. He also asks why Roland won't at least hand over the equivalent of 2 months of production, since the mine is back up and running, and Roland doesn't sugarcoat it. 2 months of ore doesn't guarantee enough food for my people. He explains that 2 years ago, many people in the border city died of hunger due to food shortages, and that he will not allow that to happen again. Then, with a firm voice and a steady gaze, Roland declares, "This method of trading with the fortress must be abolished." Roland reveals that he's already sold all the ore to Willow City and bought everything his people need to survive the winter, and that doing business with Willow City is far more advantageous than with the fortress. The ambassador finally understands the reason for the ships he saw earlier. The ambassador thinks it over, and showing just how sharp he is, quickly figures out that since Willow City has never dealt in ore before, they probably didn't charge top price, at most, half the market value, which would mean a loss for Roland. He also points out that the fortress, vastly outclassing Willow City and operating for generations, is the only one with the capacity to process that volume of ore. And that long-term, the fortress would be the best possible trading partner, something that would better serve both parties' interests. So the ambassador makes a pitch. Roland would sell ore to the fortress at 30% below market value, a win-win for everyone. Roland compliments the ambassador's business skills, agrees that the suggestion would work in everyone's favor, but asks, can the ambassador guarantee that all 6 families of the fortress would agree to these terms? The ambassador says he'll do his best, that he'll travel to the fortress to draft a new contract. Roland agrees and wishes him good news. Before leaving, the ambassador expresses concern. There are 2 months left before the demonic period, and the trip to the fortress is long and dangerous. But Roland, with a smile on his face, responds that he's not sending his people anywhere, because he's going to build a wall to defend the border city, lead his people against the demonic beasts, and make it the new frontier of the kingdom of Forticinza. The ambassador mounts his horse and rides off to the fortress with one clear objective in mind, one that benefits everyone. Roland drinks his wine and sighs, because he already knows how noble minds work, man. No matter how good the ambassador's intentions are, the 6 families of the fortress are never going to agree to the new terms. The ambassador finally meets with Duke Ryan and lays everything out. The visit, the meeting with Roland, the ships, the banquet. All the nobles burst out laughing, insisting that Roland's little game of building a pebble wall is going to get everyone in the border city killed. Duke Ryan asks Boris what he knows about this wall. But Boris is the kind of completely useless noble who adds absolutely nothing of value, which leaves the Duke visibly disappointed. Knowing that Ambassador Petrov is sharp, the Duke asks for his take. Petrov is precise. Prince Roland wants to force them into doing transactions with the border city using coin, not food, as usual. And since Roland was sent to govern under a royal decree, that makes complete sense. He says that if they can buy ore at 30% below market and secure the border city, long-term they'll save enormous costs fighting demonic beasts. And they'll also be able to farm the vast stretch of land between the fortress and the city. And he points out, Roland's royal decree only lasts 5 years. He'll be gone, and they'll be left with a prosperous, powerful city. Petrov suggests sending men to help Roland face the beasts and closing the 30% deal. The nobles start laughing at Petrov. The Duke even admits it's a good idea, but immediately makes clear who's in charge. He says that's just a merchant's perspective, and merchants only see gains and losses. He claims he didn't rise to the top of power by thinking only about profit. He asks why he'd do business with someone he can't control. Under his command, anyone who disobeys gets severely punished. And it's as simple as that. He doesn't care about the border city. What matters is that that's his territory, and nobody interferes. Not even a prince. The next day, everyone gathers in the city center, and Roland begins the speech that's about to change every single one of their lives from that moment forward. He's straight up. Due to the mine collapse, Longsong Fortress refused to send them food to survive the winter. They were abandoned, just like they've done before, leaving everyone to a certain death. Roland also warns them that the astrologers of Forticinza have predicted that the demonic months will last longer than usual, going past 4 months, and that if things stay the way they are, the tragedy from 2 years ago is going to repeat itself, maybe even worse. Roland asks them to think about the family members they've lost. The crowd goes quiet, then gets angry. Then Roland reveals that he's bought enough food for everyone to make it through winter. Bread, mead, jerky, cheese, and more, and swears on his name. The tragedy from 2 years ago will not happen again. The crowd erupts, everyone cheering Roland's name. But Roland warns them. Because of this, they've offended Longsong Fortress, which has threatened to stop offering shelter in winter. But he quickly puts their minds at ease, because, as they've probably already noticed, a sturdy wall is being built to the west of the city. And he assures them, demonic beasts are no stronger than ordinary wild animals. They can't climb walls. They can't chew through stone. Then Roland makes his ask. In my name, as Prince of the Kingdom of Forticinza, anyone with strong arms and the determination to defend their homeland, pick up your weapons and join the militia. Every soldier will receive 25 silver coins per month. And if someone falls in battle, their family will receive 5 gold coins as compensation. And then Roland asks the question that separates the real ones from the cowards. Would you rather run and hide in the filthy shacks of Longsong Fortress, starve to death like a loser, or freeze without a shred of dignity? Or will you follow me, Protect your friends and family and defend the border city to the very last moment. The crowd absolutely loses it. Everyone fired up, determined to fight with everything they've got. Later, after talking with Carter, Anna, and Nana, Roland asks Carter if the shipment he requested has arrived. Carter confirms, but gets curious, asking why Roland would need so much powdered snow and ice. Roland answers only that it'll be his next experiment. Later, in his room, Roland sits down and notices a wine goblet waiting for him. He picks it up, and just as he's about to drink, he hears the sound of a pebble hitting the window. When he goes to check, a woman appears out of nowhere and puts a knife to his throat. Faced with certain death, Roland freezes up. Fear takes over, but for some reason the woman doesn't kill him. She reassures him, saying they're not enemies. That's when Roland notices the symbol of the holy mountain and the magic eye on her clothing. She compliments Roland for being a well-read guy. Then she removes her hood and introduces herself as Nightingale. Roland's jaw literally drops at how stunning she is, and then it quickly hits him that he's staring straight at a witch. Trying to hide how nervous he is, he asks what she's doing there, since killing him clearly doesn't seem to be part of the plan. Nightingale starts by thanking Roland for sparing and taking such good care of Anna and Nana. That completely catches him off guard. She explains that she'd heard a witch had been captured there and came to rescue her, but to her surprise, Roland hadn't executed Anna. So she spent an entire week secretly watching Nana and found out she was a witch too. Nightingale says that even though she doesn't understand why Roland doesn't see witches as monsters, she wanted to thank him on behalf of the Witch Cooperation Association. Then she walks over to Roland's bed, saying it's exhausting to have a conversation while standing, and invites him to sit beside her. Nightingale notices Roland is still on edge, which honestly makes total sense, since just minutes ago she had a knife to his throat. Even though he's scared out of his mind, Roland sits down because he knows full well that if she wanted him dead, he'd already be gone. He takes a deep breath and asks again what she wants. Nightingale gently strokes his face and says she can see the fear of witches in people's eyes, but in Roland's eyes, she only sees curiosity. She says that with her invisibility magic, she's been glued to his side all week. She saw absolutely everything, even the sus little things he does before bed. Roland asks why she only showed up now. Nightingale explains that just a little while ago, his head chambermaid came into the room to serve him a glass of wine and slipped a little surprise into that glass. Roland puts two and two together. Tyre, his own head chambermaid, poisoned his drink. Nightingale smiles and says with that dangerously casual tone of hers, "Sounds like your harem isn't as safe as you thought, dude." Roland realizes she just saved his life and thanks her, but Nightingale immediately waves it off, saying she saved him because he saved Anna, and that now they're even. Then she turns around and drops the bomb. "I need to take Anna and Nana away from here." Roland, caught off guard, asks where. Nightingale says she's taking them to the Witch Association, because that's where they truly belong. Roland tries to understand why that place would be the only safe option. She explains that only there can witches live in peace. No persecution, no discrimination, no need to hide from anyone. Roland replies that in the frontier city they wouldn't be persecuted either, that he's offered fair contracts and decent wages. Nightingale agrees, but says there's one thing he simply cannot do. You can't guide them to the Holy Mountain. She explains that only there can witches find true peace. Roland then says his men found traces of witches in the mountains to the north and asks if she's trying to reach the Holy Mountain in the impassable mountain range. But Nightingale shuts it down and says she has no comment. Roland then says he can't let her just take the girls like that, because Demon Month starts in 2 months. The mountains will be buried in snow and crawling with demonic beasts. There's no way he's letting Anna and Nana run into that danger. So he suggests Nightingale and the witches stay in the city through the winter, and then they can look for the Holy Mountain once it's safer. Nightingale realizes he's basically suggesting the entire association move into the city. The idea is actually kind of appealing, but she thinks it through. Even if Roland doesn't fear witches, plenty of people do. And the moment the church found out, they'd come down on them immediately. So she asks why he would take on such a huge risk, when it would be so much easier to just let the witches go. Without missing a beat, Roland answers, "Because they matter to me." Nightingale gets it, but asks if he really wants to put Anna's life on the line like that. He's confused. So she explains that the real reason she wants to take Anna away is that when a witch turns 18, reaching adulthood, she faces the first great trial of her life. Most witches awaken during Demon Month, which is said to be when the gates of hell swing open. Those who haven't awakened before turning 18 will probably never become true witches, but those who already have awakened, every year, on the anniversary of their awakening, they suffer the torment of demonic possession. The body is pushed to the absolute extreme. Blood seeps through every inch of skin. Eyes bulge out of their sockets, and if the witch can endure that unbearable pain, The body slowly recovers after 4 or 5 days of rest, but if she can't hold on, the death is one of the worst imaginable. The witch dies in total agony, with her organs and blood mixing together and pouring out of every opening in her body. And when they hit the air, they turn into black mist. And when there's nothing left to come out, all that remains is a layer of charred, blackened skin on the floor. Nightingale says that many witches die exactly when they turn 18, and that's why people see them as the living embodiment of the devil himself. Since Anna is about to reach that age, she'd have a much better shot at surviving within the association. Nightingale says she knows Anna and Nana are important to Roland's plans, but she still hopes he'll give the girls a chance to live. Roland, who cares way too deeply about both of them, agrees to let Nightingale take them. She thanks him and vanishes right in front of him. Knowing she's still somewhere nearby, he goes to Anna's room and reluctantly calls for her. He introduces Nightingale and explains everything. But to both their surprise, Anna says she's not going. Nightingale tries to explain the demonic possession situation more clearly, but Anna, firm and dead serious, says she'll get through it, and that all she wants is to stay by Roland's side. Those words hit Roland like a freight train. He's completely speechless. Without much else to do, Nightingale acknowledges Anna's determination and decides to stick around the city for a while longer. She says that since she has experience with demonic possession, she'll be able to help when that day comes. Then she steps closer to Roland and, with a look that's more dangerous than any knife, says, "I'll be in your care for a while." Roland glances at Anna and can't hide how happy he is that she chose to stay. The next morning, as soon as his maids wake Roland up, Carter shows up with some bizarre news. Tyre, his head chambermaid, was found dead during the night. Roland already has a pretty good idea of what went down. Carter explains she was found on the bedroom balcony with no signs of a struggle or a break-in, probably an accident. Roland thanks him for the update and dismisses Carter. He already knows it was Nightingale, and the fact that she left zero trace behind shows just how deadly and professional this woman really is. And then, like clockwork, the devil in the form of an angel shows up in his room, casually eating Roland's breakfast like nothing happened. Roland walks over and she explains that since she's going to be sticking around, it's only natural she helps take some of his worries off his plate. She hands him a piece of paper with information about who's been trying to kill Roland, and clarifies that she's not the one who killed Tyre. Tyre herself had poison hidden inside a hollow tooth, and the moment Nightingale showed up, she bit down on it. Nightingale just made it look like an accident. Roland reads the note and understands. Tyre was sent there to kill him, not because she wanted to, but because someone had kidnapped her sister and was using her as a hostage. And then it all clicks. It was one of his own brothers who sent Tyre. Nightingale then tells him to hurry up and get to his meeting, except Roland hasn't eaten a single thing yet, and he realizes he's going to spend the entire morning starving. At the meeting, even with his stomach growling, Roland listens as Baroff explains that by selling minerals at 50% below market value, they managed to pull in 200 gold coins. After deducting all expenses, like building the wall and feeding the people, they still had 90 coins left over, enough to make it through the winter. Then Carter explains that militia recruitment is going well. The goal of 100 men is almost within reach, but training is a serious problem. You can't expect a bunch of farmers and laborers to go up against demonic beasts. These guys can barely hold a sword right. Roland asks for a suggestion. Carter proposes going to Baron Boris, thinking he can convince him to fight. Roland agrees, which gets Carter pretty pumped. Then Baroff sighs and says Carter doesn't understand how the nobility works, that he's still too naive and has too noble a heart. Roland agrees and admits he only went along with Carter's suggestion to make him happy, because he already knows Baron Boris is never going to help with anything. Baroff then says he's worried, because the city's people have zero combat experience, and since there aren't enough swords and shields to go around, many will end up fighting unarmed. Roland tells him to chill, saying no one is going to fight unarmed, and shows a blueprint for a new invention that will probably change that entire world forever. Later, with the help of Anna's fire magic, Roland teaches her to concentrate the flames into the tip of her finger, turning it into a blowtorch. The problem is that it completely wipes Anna out, and she collapses into Roland's arms, turning red as a tomato. Curious, Anna asks what on earth he's cooking up. Roland says she'll see for herself real soon, and that this is going to open the door to a whole new era. That night, when he gets back to his room, Roland nearly jumps out of his skin when Nightingale startles him. She shows him that she grabbed the blueprint drafts and says it'll be super useful for the association, since they also have a fire witch. Roland doesn't even care, saying he can just draw another one. Nightingale then says something surprisingly sincere, that she's kind of jealous of Anna, because she can see how well Roland treats her, and how much he trusts her. And she says it's been so long since she's known what it feels like to trust someone, or to be trusted. The next day, Roland and Carter saddle up and ride out to Baron Boris's estate. Carter can't stop hyping the place up. Built with the finest stone and timber in the whole region, worth over 150 gold coins easy. When they arrive, Boris welcomes them with that fake, over-the-top hospitality that fools absolutely nobody. Roland cuts straight to the chase. The militia needs instructors, weapons, and seasoned fighters, and he expects Boris to answer the call and send his knights to help defend the city. That's when Boris shows his true colors as a first-class snake. He says he's deeply honored by Roland's personal visit, but finds the whole situation, deeply unfortunate. Then he pulls the lamest excuse imaginable, claims his men just got back from a hunting trip and are completely wiped out. He even has a servant bring over a little box as a way to help out. Carter opens it, hyped up, and finds a single gold coin inside. One, just one. Carter looks like he's about to lose his mind. Since Roland saw this coming from a mile away, he simply stands up, thanks Boris for his generous contribution, and walks out without making a scene. On the ride back, Carter apologizes, admitting he brought shame to his lord's name and that Boris's attitude was a straight-up slap in the face to knightly loyalty, but Roland waves it off. He tells Carter he expected exactly this and that they can't rely on the nobles for anything. He's got his own plans, his own ways to train the militia, and even if it's a ragtag crew, they'll soon show everyone what a real militia is capable of. Bright and early, a crowd of militia recruits gathers outside the city walls, pumped up by the promise of 10 silver coins a month, plus 3 meals a day. Dude, for these guys, that alone was more than enough reason to show up. Vanner was literally starving, and his boys naturally wasted zero time roasting him, saying that the way he looked, he'd drop dead before he ever saw a single coin. They even took it further, asking what would happen to that tavern girl he was so crazy about if he kicked the bucket. But Vanner wasn't about to let that slide. He fired back that he wasn't dying here, that he was going to propose to her next year, and he made it crystal clear he was only there for one reason: money. Because how else was a guy like him ever going to afford a wedding? That's when Carter announced Roland's arrival, ordering everyone to attention and into formation. Vanner's jaw nearly hit the ground seeing the guy in person, because this was the first time in his life he'd ever laid eyes on actual royalty up close, especially out here in a forgotten backwater like this border city. Before anything else, Roland thanked everyone for showing up and for having the guts to enlist in such a dangerous mission, to defend their own homeland. He declared that from that moment on, they were all official members of the border city militia. He warned that over the next month and a half, they'd be grinding through some seriously brutal training, but that training would pay off for everyone. Anyone who passed would earn an extra egg at lunch. And look, eggs were nobleman-level food. So yeah, the crowd absolutely lost it right then and there. After that, Roland introduced the city's best hunter, Iron Axe. Carter, for the record, didn't exactly look thrilled about that, but he kept his mouth shut. Roland then pledged on his own name that anyone who stood out in training and on the battlefield would receive an official rank, no matter where they came from. Iron Axe got straight to business and kicked off the first exercise. Everyone had to stand completely still for a full 30 minutes, not a single muscle. Simple enough, or at least that's what it looked like. Anyone who pulled it off would earn an extra egg at lunch. Everyone got started and Vanner was clearly the weakest link out there, but he gave it everything he had, and 30 minutes later, he made it. Everyone was completely wrecked, but pumped that they'd held on. Iron Axe reported the end of the first drill to Carter, and it was pretty obvious those two weren't exactly best buddies. Roland called Carter over for the verdict. Meanwhile, Vanner and his crew were sweating it, because since most nobles despised commoners, they weren't totally sure Roland was actually going to keep his word. But Carter came back with the news. Everyone had done well, and everybody was getting their egg at lunch. The crowd went absolutely wild. Some guys said they hadn't eaten an egg in over a year. Carter announced that round 2 was already starting. This time, if everyone stayed still for another 30 minutes, they'd earn 2 eggs at lunch. But if even one person failed, nobody got anything. The mood dipped a little, but Vanner thumped his chest and declared he was going all in for that second egg. While the drill was running, Roland noticed Carter getting antsy and told him to just say whatever was on his mind. Carter said he would never question Roland's decisions, but that this crowd was nothing but a bunch of disorganized nobodies. That he'd seen this kind of thing play out before, and people like this are always the first ones to bolt on the battlefield. He also admitted he couldn't see the point of the training at all, because he had no idea how standing still was going to help anyone take down demonic beasts. And he went ahead and asked whether Roland was seriously planning to name Iron Axe as captain, pointing out that the guy didn't belong to any kingdom on the continent and had no homeland to speak of. Roland responded with one simple question. Carter, with your methods, could you turn these guys into warriors capable of fighting demonic beasts in 2 months? Carter shut that down immediately, said that would take at least 5 years. So Roland made himself perfectly clear he wasn't training them to be warriors or knights, and that Carter would understand what all of this was building toward soon enough. What Carter had no clue about was that Roland was actually training them to be overpowered riflemen in a medieval world. Roland also made it clear that both Iron Axe and the witches belonged to the border city. He then handed Carter a sheet of paper with all the instructions for future drills and told everyone to follow it to the letter. Carter noticed one of the instructions said everyone was supposed to learn how to read and write, and asked, genuinely puzzled, how on earth that was supposed to help in a fight. Roland spelled it out. A powerful army is a literate and intelligent army. He said he'd learned that lesson from the history of humanity, referring of course to the wars of our own world. Later on, the crew ate their long-awaited meal with their hard-earned eggs, saying it was absolutely worth dying for food this good. While Iron Axe ate in peace, Carter walked up to announce the next drill. He told everyone that Roland was ordering 3 full laps around the border city, and made it crystal clear that everyone had to finish, even if that meant carrying the ones who couldn't make it on their own. Pull it off, and they'd earn another egg at dinner. Carter wished everyone luck, but before heading off, he turned to Iron Axe and told him to sleep with one eye open that night. At sunset, everyone was running behind Iron Axe, but Vanner, poor guy, proved to be the weakest of the bunch and collapsed from total exhaustion. His lunch nearly came right back up, but since it had been way too good to waste, he swallowed it back down and kept moving. Everyone eventually finished the drill, but they noticed 3 people were still missing. That's when Vanner showed up, being carried by his own boys who flatly refused to leave him behind, and the whole group erupted. That night, everyone was hanging out around a bonfire when Carter rolled up and announced it was time for another training session. Iron Axe was thrown off. He hadn't expected a nighttime drill. Carter explained, this one was an emergency meeting. A little later, Roland headed back to his quarters and found his new roommate waiting for him, Nightingale. The sneaky girl casually mentioned she'd eaten Roland's bacon because she was worried it would get cold. Roland ignored that and asked whether she hadn't picked up any manners around a prince, reminding her that the first time they met, she'd been a lot more respectful. Nightingale, sarcastic as ever, gave an exaggerated curtsy and said point blank, Roland ordered dinner for 2. Wasn't that meal meant for me? Roland just smirked and kept sketching out his plans. Nightingale walked closer and mentioned she'd noticed that all the militia's expenses were coming straight out of his own pocket. Roland answered that as long as they protected the city, every penny was worth it. She asked why he was teaching everyone to read and write. Roland said that being literate would help them understand why they were fighting, and that in the battles ahead, that would matter more than anything else. Nightingale said everyone out there was fighting for nothing more than their next meal. Roland agreed, for now, but he said he was going to teach them what it actually meant to fight for something real. Roland then asked Nightingale why the witches were cooperating in the fight at all. She said they were just a bunch of lost souls who had banded together to survive, and that simply being alive was already exhausting enough. The next day, Roland finishes his blueprints and realizes he's been up working all night. That's when he notices a wrapped object sitting on the table. He gently runs a cloth over it, revealing a gleam, the gleam of something that would change the fate of that world forever. Later, Roland meets Carter and Iron Axe out in a forest, and presents them with one of the greatest revolutions in history, a musket. He says it's a weapon capable of killing enemies from long distances. Carter asks if it's like a crossbow or a bow. Roland explains it's a little slower, but with a far greater range and absolutely insane stopping power. Roland decides to demonstrate. He takes the powder snow he had requested earlier, saying he made some chemical modifications and is calling it gunpowder. He teaches Carter and Iron Axe how to properly load the musket and warns them to press it firmly against their shoulder because the recoil when it fires is no joke. Roland gives the signal. Both of them shoot. Their jaws drop. A metal suit of armor had been punched clean through like it was cardboard, and that's when Carter and Iron Axe finally understood the reason behind all that training. Pumped up, Carter asks how many muskets they have. Roland says just those 2, and that he'd only be able to produce 2 more before Demon Month. That kind of kills Carter's vibe. Roland says he gets it. He knows these weapons are powerful enough to flip reality on its head, but he makes it clear that no matter how powerful it is, a weapon is just a tool, and that the most powerful weapon will always be trust and loyalty. He makes it crystal clear that only a true warrior can wield a true weapon. Roland turns to Carter and Iron Axe and asks them to use those tools to protect the frontier city and its people. Both of them, more motivated than they've ever been, bow before Roland and swear that they will. Meanwhile, that deadweight Boris is busy sucking up to Ryan Osmond, spilling everything Roland has been doing. About the militia being assembled, about the weak wall Roland built. Ryan doesn't pay much attention and says he'll give Roland the smallest possible chance. A few days later, militia training continues, and Greyhound starts to notice that this training is turning ordinary people into real warriors. He praises Iron Axe, saying the guy is seriously competent. But Iron Axe isn't the only one Greyhound notices. He spots Brian there and says that with those sword skills, the guy should absolutely enlist in the militia. Greyhound is dead serious. With all that talent, Brian would win Prince Roland's favor in a heartbeat and become a knight. Brian then invites Greyhound to sign up with him. But here's the thing. Greyhound is exactly the kind of guy who sells himself short, you know? The classic underachiever who doesn't believe in his own potential. He turns down the invite, plays it humble, and walks off saying he's perfectly happy just being a city guard. The two end up heading to a cabin in the middle of the forest where they find other warriors. But some of the faces there, Brian has never seen in his life. The long-haired guy gets straight to the point, no beating around the bush. He says he has a solid job offer for both of them and guarantees that if they accept, they'll be knighted. That sparks Brian's curiosity, and Greyhound's too. The long-haired guy claims his uncle is a trusted associate of the Duke, and that the fourth prince disrespected the Duke, and that's why he's there. The mission? Simple. Infiltrate the prince's castle. Greyhound, already floored by how insane this is, immediately asks if they're planning to assassinate the fourth prince. The guy denies it, explaining that doing that would directly implicate the Duke, and that the plan is way simpler. Destroy what matters most to the prince, the food supply. The long-haired guy says confidently that if they can burn the supplies the prince has been stockpiling, everyone will be knighted and the Duke will grant them lands to the east of the fortress. Brian is stunned by what they're proposing, but Greyhound, completely unaware of how deep in it he already is, just blurts out what he thinks. Demon Month this year could last 4 months. If they burn all the food, everyone in the frontier city is going to die, and he's not going to be part of that. No discussion. Brian already notices the other men shifting around them, ready to move if they have to. After all, now that Brian and Greyhound know the plan, the choice is simple. Either they're in, or they die right there. Brian, thinking fast, asks how they plan to get inside the castle, since the food is stored within its walls. The long-haired guy smiles and brings up the fact that Brian had once mentioned a secret passage leading to the well inside the prince's fortress, and says Brian is going to lead them there, nice and quiet. Then he asks with a crooked grin, "What do you say, Brian? This is your chance to become a knight ordained by the Duke himself." Brian actually considers saying yes. The dream of his life is sitting right in front of him. But then Greyhound shouts at the top of his lungs, saying everyone there is out of their minds, that real knights never bow to tyranny. They protect and sacrifice themselves for the weak. Brian snaps back to his senses and smiles, proud of his friend. But the long-haired guy doesn't like what he hears one bit, and he ends Greyhound with a fatal stab. That ignites a rage deep inside Brian, but he holds it together. He knows he'll die if he tries anything right now. So, as expected, Brian leads them through the secret passage and into the prince's fortress. Except Brian has no intention of betraying Prince Roland. What he actually wants is to avenge his friend. So, as they head down the stairs, Brian takes advantage of a moment of distraction and grabs one of the warriors tumbling down the staircase with him. In the storeroom, Brian faces them with pure, unfiltered hatred, dead set on taking out every single one of them. The men surround him, but Brian tears through them one by one without breaking a sweat. Only the guy who killed his friend remains, and just as Brian is about to finish him off, another guy lunges at Brian and runs him through with a rapier. The man reveals himself as Lord Viper, the infamous knight from Longsong Fortress. Viper says Brian is going to die right there, taking the fall as the man who betrayed the prince and set fire to the supplies. Even while badly wounded, Brian pushes through and charges at Viper. But the guy clearly has way more experience and takes Brian down using his own cloak as a distraction, leaving him on the brink of death. Viper was about to finish Brian off when the long-haired guy asks to be the one to do it, wanting to make Brian suffer as much as possible before the end. In his final moments, Brian silently apologizes to Greyhound for failing to avenge him, and then notices Nightingale watching from a distance and disappearing just as quickly. She appears out of nowhere saying they're making way too much noise in someone else's house, and that it's really not a good look. Viper tries to use the same trick against Nightingale, but she's way sharper and rips his arm off before he even realizes what happened. Then Nightingale, with a look that sends chills down your spine, says, "You disgusting little rats, get your grimy little paws off my fresh catch." Talking about Roland, obviously. The next morning, Brian wakes up and finds himself face to face with Roland himself. He tries to explain everything that happened, but Roland stops him, saying he already knows all of it. Roland praises Brian, saying he is now the hero of the frontier city. And then, the fourth prince himself, along with everyone present, bows before Brian in gratitude for saving the lives of thousands of people. Brian breaks down crying and says that the real hero was his friend Greyhound. Roland tells Brian to take it easy, promising that Greyhound will receive a funeral worthy of his status and that his family will be compensated and won't have to worry about making ends meet. Brian then asks what happened to the criminals. Roland says 2 were captured alive, Viper and Wild Cleaver, and guarantees they'll get exactly the punishment they deserve. Barov shoots Roland a worried look, knowing full well that both of them are way too politically connected to simply deal with quietly. Then Roland, smiling, tells Brian that once Demon Month is over, he's going to make him a knight. As soon as they step out, Barov says it's pretty much certain that Duke Ryan is behind all of this. Carter confirms it, saying that the Night Viper is Ryan's personal knight. Barov adds that the other man, the long-haired guy named Hills, although a commoner, is a distant nephew of Baron Boris. Roland asks Barov for guidance, and Barov makes it crystal clear. By law, these men must be executed. But since they have strong ties to the nobility, it's smarter for Roland to wait and see how Duke Ryan and Baron Boris react first. And it doesn't take long for Baron Boris to show up. The guy is a complete wreck because he knows he really stepped in at this time. Roland shows up and stares Boris down with pure contempt, asking what the hell he wants there. Boris tries to buy the freedom of his nephew Hills and Viper the Knight with a box containing 50 gold coins. He claims he'll severely punish his nephew himself and offers the coins to make up for the crimes. Roland is already fed up with having to look at Boris's face and asks if he's really suggesting he release criminals who tried to burn the city's food supply and assassinate him. Boris tries to lie, claiming he had no idea any of this was going on. Roland then asks if Duke Ryan had anything to do with it. Boris flat out denies it. So Roland pretends to believe that the Duke didn't try to have a prince assassinated and says he'll treat all of this as a personal act committed by the criminals themselves. Boris is thrilled by the decision, but that excitement doesn't last long. Roland makes it absolutely clear that regardless of that, the criminals will be hanged for their crimes. Barov swallows hard, knowing this is going to be a massive headache down the road. Boris tries one last move, claiming that in God's name, nobles can be forgiven. Roland answers without even blinking, "Then I'll send them to meet God, so they may be forgiven there." And he makes it equally clear that, since Boris is the local representative of the city, he is required to attend and bear witness to the law being carried out. The next day, Roland gathers the entire city. He lays out everything that happened, and the reason why those heinous criminals are being publicly executed. He talks about the attempted assassination of a prince, about the attempt to burn everyone's winter food supply, and he makes it loud and clear that Brian and Greyhound were the heroes who saved the city, but that tragically Greyhound didn't make it. The crowd erupts in pure outrage, and the criminals are hanged. That night, Roland finds Nightingale and thanks her, saying he's now in her debt. Nightingale says it was nothing, that helping Roland is the same as helping herself. Roland admits he didn't expect her to be quite that skilled. He says Carter kept asking about the mysterious specialist he'd hired. Nightingale gets worried that Roland might have given her up, but he makes it clear that this mysterious specialist still can't reveal herself. Not yet. Nightingale says she's not as strong as Carter, and that she took down Viper using a small self-defense trick that witches use. Roland knows incidents like this are going to keep happening, and asks if Nightingale would want to stick around and become his personal bodyguard, promising a generous pay of 2 gold coins a month with days off and paid vacation. Nightingale furrows her brow. She has no idea what paid vacation even means. Roland tries to explain that it means every year she'd have a few days to rest without losing any pay. She actually kind of likes the idea, but still can't quite wrap her head around it. Nightingale also finds herself confused about Roland's relationship with God. After all, he executed the criminals in God's name, but also defied God's will by protecting the witches Anna and Nana. She asks, dead serious, "What exactly does God mean to you, Roland?" Roland makes it perfectly clear that it's not God who hunts witches, it's the church. He says he knows full well that witches are innocent, and that it doesn't matter whether a criminal is a commoner or a noble. A crime is a crime, and it must be punished. Then Roland turns and says that throughout history, many gods have been worshipped by many different peoples, and wonders out loud how many terrible things have been done in those gods' names. He says he's simply doing what he believes is right for his people, and that he believes a true God would be able to understand his actions. And if not, then he is no god. Nightingale goes completely still, floored by Roland's wisdom. A few days later, Brian goes to his friend's grave to share that thanks to him, he became a knight. That Roland revealed it was a witch who saved him with her magical powers. Brian lays a bouquet of flowers over the earth and with a steady voice swears he'll raise his sword and defend the city, even if it costs him his life. Later, Boris tells Ryan that Prince Roland executed his nephew and Ryan's knight without a shred of mercy. Right there, in front of everyone, Boris beats his chest, saying that he and his men are ready to wipe the frontier city off the map. All the Duke has to do is give the order. And he swears, with all that rage boiling inside him, that he'll use Prince Roland's skull as a drinking cup. Dude was genuinely at his limit. Ryan listens to all of it in silence, then turns to Petrov and asks for his take. Petrov speaks straight. This isn't about pride. Attacking the frontier city over this would mean sacrificing the entire population there, and would inevitably trigger a falling out with the royal family of Fortissimo. Boris immediately calls Petrov a coward, questioning whether they're just going to swallow this disrespect from some useless prince. But Petrov doesn't budge an inch. He says he understands everyone's anger, but now is not the time to send in the troops, because once this war starts, their enemy won't just be the fourth prince, it'll be the entire royal family of Fortissimo. Ryan finds himself more and more drawn to Petrov's reasoning and asks him to keep going. So Petrov lays out 3 more viable options. The first, enforce a scorched earth policy using the pretext of protecting the people, relocate the population, supplies, and food inside the fortress, cutting off all provisions to the fourth prince. The second, fortify strategic positions, send troops into the frontier city and declare open war against the royal family of Fortissimo, but stay on high alert to hold off the reinforcements that first Prince Gerald would certainly send. And the third, prepare the troops for battle, but use the knights fighting demonic beasts as a cover, without tipping off the fourth prince ahead of time. And there's more. Since Demon Month is already closing in, Petrov makes it clear they're not ready for a quick war. The frontier city has been preparing for months, and if they can't win in a single decisive strike, the war will drag on, and then Fortissimo will send reinforcements, leaving them fighting on 2 fronts at once. Pretty awful situation, right? So Petrov suggests they wait until Demon Month is over, and then unleash their knights in an all-out assault. And who knows, they might even be able to pin Prince Roland's death on the demonic beast invasion. Ryan agrees with everything and makes it crystal clear. Either Prince Roland dies to the demonic beasts, or he dies under the hooves of his cavalry. The next day, Roland presents Carter with his newest invention. Carter is super curious, thinking it's some kind of furnace with wheels and levers. Roland says that's pretty much what it is. Then he has Anna use her fire magic to light the furnace. And then he turns to Carter and says, "Today I'm going to show you the power of steam." The machine kicks to life. The wheels spin, steam shoots out in jets, and Carter's jaw drops completely, unable to believe what he's looking at. Roland smiles, satisfied. Anna asks what this thing is called, and Roland explains, that is a steam engine, and since it's the first one they've built, they'll call it steam engine number 1. Anna immediately figures that if it's number 1, numbers 2, 3, and beyond are coming soon. Roland confirms it and takes the chance to ask if Anna still remembers the welding method. She confirms it right away. It's pretty clear she's basically turned into a blacksmith witch at this point. Meanwhile, Carter is still frozen in place, just staring at the steam engine, until Roland has to call his name to snap him out of it. Carter says that machine is insanely powerful, and that he finally, truly believes Roland when he said he'd create something capable of replacing human and animal labor. He makes a comparison. Normally it takes 10 years to train a warhorse, but building that machine didn't even take a week, even counting the time to fabricate all the parts. Then Carter asks the question everyone in that situation would ask, "Lord Roland, at this rate, will there still be any need for us knights to exist?" Roland makes it perfectly clear. Machines will replace horses, not people. Just as muskets will replace bows and crossbows, the steam engine will become their new cavalry. Carter is pumped up by the answer. Roland also explains that he plans to use the steam engines for military purposes, but that the first step is putting them to work in the mines, boosting ore production efficiency. And combined with Anna's magic, productivity is going to go through the roof. Then Roland tells Carter to organize workers to build tracks inside the mines, where the steam engine will transport the ore, replacing manual labor and speeding everything up. The tracks get built and up and running. Everyone celebrates excitedly, but Roland makes a point of warning them. Steam engines increase workplace hazards, and burns are going to be a regular thing. Every time they need to release pressure from the machine, they have to warn everyone out loud and clear the surrounding area. No slacking off. Later, Anna is at work when Nana watches her with worry and asks if she's not scared of the demonic possession. Nana picks up on her very real fear, sits beside her, and reassures her, saying they're going to get through it together. But Nana says she's scared because she's not as strong as Anna. Anna smiles and admits she's not as tough as she looks either. She shares that she used to think death was her destiny, until she found a reason to keep living. And she promises Nana that she'll find her reason too, even if it's simply to survive. But all Nana wants is to be useful to the prince, just like Anna. That's right when Carter shows up to let them know that Prince Roland is requesting both of them. Just before that, Carter had informed Roland that a miner was seriously injured by one of the steam engines, and feared the man wouldn't make it through the night. Roland asks Carter to call Anna and Nana so Nana can save the miner's life. But Barov sounds the alarm. If the miners see Nana's magic, it'll become obvious she's a witch, and the secret that they have witches in the city will come to light. Roland acknowledges Barov is completely right, but says it was inevitable sooner or later. And with industrialization barely getting started, he can't let an accident like this build fear around steam engine number 1. Shortly after, everyone goes to the room where the injured miner is. The guy's in rough shape, writhing in agony. Anna and Nana arrive, and Nana, despite the fear, takes a deep breath, determined to help. Roland encourages her calmly. "Nana, just like in training, right?" She nods, looks at the miner's condition, flinches a little, but focuses. And then, right in front of everyone in the room, she uses her insane healing magic, restoring the miner's flesh, leaving the guy looking literally brand new. Two men who witnessed it all freak out, screaming that it's the devil's power, that Nana is a witch. Roland looks at them calmly and replies, "That's right, she is a witch. You got a problem with that?" Roland makes it crystal clear that the fear people have of witches was spread by the church, and that in reality, witches aren't just harmless, they're their allies, there to protect everyone. Carter backs him up. He asks them to take a good look and questions whether any witch has ever done any of them harm, and says that he himself has been saved by one. Nana, completely overwhelmed by all of it, runs out of the room, in tears. And to make things worse, Barov warns that Nana's father has barged into the castle, and that somehow, he already knows she's a witch. Anna tells Roland she'll go after Nana, and tells Roland to go handle the situation with the noble. The moment they'd been dreading finally arrives. Roland goes to meet Nana's father with a serious expression. The man gets straight to the point. "Where is my daughter, Lord Roland? Bring her here immediately." Barov asks Baron Pine to calm down, but the man isn't having it, and in a wild move, he actually draws his sword in front of a prince, saying Roland has crossed a line that no noble should be willing to tolerate. Carter demands he lower the sword. Pine says he's heard a lot about Carter, and goes for him. They clash blades, but Carter pushes Pine back without breaking a sweat. Roland orders both of them to stop, then asks Pine how he could even think about turning his own daughter over to the church, and makes it clear that witches are innocent. Pine points his sword and replies that he doesn't care about the church. He's going to protect his daughter even if it costs him his life. That's when it finally sinks in for him, and he realizes that Roland is actually protecting the witches. Pine asks if Roland brought his daughter to the castle for exactly that purpose. Roland confirms. He normally brings her there to learn and train. Realizing they're all on the same side, Pine apologizes for his ignorance. He explains that when he heard Roland had discovered Nana was a witch and brought her to the castle, he immediately assumed the worst. Roland says it's fine, it was just a misunderstanding, and asks how long he'd known his daughter was a witch. Pine says it's been a long time, and that he's always tried to keep it hidden. That's when Anna shows up with Nana, who hides behind her. Pine calls out to his little girl, but Nana asks on the defensive if he's going to sell her to the church. He answers with the biggest relief in his voice. "The church would never want a little goofball like you." Nana runs into her father's arms and cries. Pine makes it absolutely clear that he would never hand her over to anyone in this world. Later, with the tension way down and things calmer, Roland explains to Baron Pine how he discovered Nana's healing powers and how those abilities are incredibly important for anyone who gets hurt in the city. Then Roland says that even though Pine made it clear he wouldn't give Nana up to anyone, he hopes she can at least stay in the frontier city to help him fight through Demon Month. But Pine apologetically declines. He says Nana is still very young and that Demon Month is far too dangerous. He admires Roland's view of witches, but knows most people aren't going to think the same way, and concludes that the dangers in the frontier city aren't limited to just demonic beasts. So he tells Nana she's coming to the fortress with him. Nana is heartbroken, but that's when Carter shows up bringing the miner she saved, and the man says he needs to say something to her. Nana trembles with fear and nerves, until the miner drops to his knees in front of her, sobbing, thanking her for saving his life. He calls her a goddess, and says he's realized that the church has been lying to them all along, because it was Nana's magic that saved him, nothing else. Nana wants to melt from embarrassment, but smiles, and says she's just happy to be able to help everyone. Even Pine tears up, moved by the whole thing. Later, Roland talks with Baron Pine, and learns that he's a war hero. He fought alongside Roland's father against demonic beasts. Roland can tell right away that Pine isn't like other nobles. You can see it in the calluses on his hands, in his armor, in his sword. The spirit of chivalry still runs deep in this man's blood. Roland then says he's organized a militia to defend the city and its people during Demon Month, and asks Pine to fight alongside them. But Pine still pushes back. He asks Roland to please let him send Nana to the fortress, saying no one has ever held back the demonic beasts before. Then Roland drops the bomb. "Pine, have you ever thought about what would happen to Nana at the fortress if they found out she's a witch?" Pine's expression shifts completely. Roland explains that everyone in the frontier city has already accepted Nana for who she is, as Pine just witnessed, and that in the future, she might even be considered a saint there. In the frontier city, Nana is far safer. Roland also promises he'll fight alongside his people against the beasts, saying they're nothing but mutant animals, the kind that even Pine's father has taken down on the battlefield before. And with the impenetrable wall they've built, they can get through all of it. And if everything goes sideways, he swears he'll send Nana and Anna away together first. Convinced, and for the sake of his daughter, Pine swears he will fight for Roland. The days pass, everyone preparing for the battle that's coming. And finally, the wall is complete. That night, Nightingale visits Anna and Nana in their room, bringing bread for Nana. Anna immediately tells her to go wash her hands first. They sit down, and then Nightingale drops the bomb. She asks if they really don't want to come with her to the Witch Mountain. She says that even though supplies there aren't plentiful, everyone is like family, united by the same purpose. She also says she can see that Anna has an immense power, the greatest she's ever witnessed in her life, and she's afraid Anna won't be able to get through it on her own. Anna asks where Nightingale lived before she became a witch. Nightingale says she lived in a large city to the east. Anna asks if she was happy back then. Nightingale doesn't answer, so Anna opens up. She shares that she used to live in a crumbling house in an old mining district, that her mother died in a fire, and that her own father sold her for 25 gold coins. And then she concludes, "It was His Highness Roland who rescued me from that cage. I am so happy here." Nightingale insists they need to leave, that they should seek true freedom. But Anna is direct. She's already seeking true freedom. And if the Holy Mountain is the home and refuge of witches, she's already found her own holy mountain. That's the moment Nana notices something through the window. The two of them go to look, and realize snow is already falling, slowly, silently, but inevitable. And with it, soon enough, the war against the demonic beasts will come.